My name is Nabby, and I'm with Sunshine Health. And I wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for everything you guys do for the advocacy to our children. I have 10 plus years in the child welfare system. I started out in investigations down in Broward County and did that for a pretty long time until I came over to Sunshine. So I definitely commend you. I know how hard it is. And if you take any information from me today, or from us I should say, this is basically information so that you can continue to advocate for our children. So a lot of this is going to be informational so that you know what's going on in the child welfare system. So Sunshine Health has a child welfare specialty plan that's built just for the children in our foster care system. So we're going to go over the plan and everything that it has, okay? If you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, please let us know and we'll go ahead and address them. So a little bit about the plan. How did it get started and why was this change made? So in 2011, the ACA, which is the Agency for Healthcare Administration, decided to do a statewide medical management plan, basically, to try to get hold of the Medicaid portion and what's called the long-term care, which is basically for the elderly. So they decided to put together a plan that's a statewide plan for these two types of plans that the Florida has, okay? And in 2013, they decided that, hey, you know what? We need something that's a little bit more targeted towards our child welfare community because we do know that they have a lot of physical and behavioral health needs, right? So we need something that's really targeted for them. So they created what's called the Child Welfare Specialty Plan, and we actually bid for this contract along with our two partners. We have Community-Based Care of Integrated Health. I don't talk to them, we'll talk about them in a little bit. And we also have Cenpatico, which we'll also be talking about them in a bit. So together we come up with this plan, and we bid and we won the contract in September of 2013. And in May of 2014, we started implementation of this new plan. And it all went live by August 1st, okay? So it's a little bit of a history of how the plan started. Any questions so far? No? Good. Okay, so we are in all 67 counties of Florida. So we service the whole entire state with our plan. So we both have the physical and the behavioral health needs of the children, and we'll go into the specifics of the plan, okay? So who is eligible for our plan? Really good question. So it's any children who have open dependency cases, right? So it's not all the children who have an open abuse case with investigations. They have to be in the dependency system, okay? So that it's your in-home and out-of-home children. So we learned a little bit about that earlier, right, with DCF. So it's that in-home and out-of-home children is what we're looking at. It includes extended foster care, so those children that are up to the age of 21, they're able to be on this plan as well. And it includes children who have been adopted through the system. So those post-adoptive children, as long as they receive an adoption subsidy and up to the age of 18. Okay, so it's the post-adoptive, receive an adoption subsidy up to the age of 18. So these are our eligible members, okay? So who are our partners? So I mentioned them briefly, and we'll mention them again so that you have an idea. So we definitely, Sunshine Health, we have Cenpatico, and we have CBCIH, or Community-Based Care Integrated Health. So we'll go over exactly what they do and their function part of the plan. So these are the partners and how we can contribute to the community and get this work done for our kids. So this is a visual, so you have an idea of what the hierarchy looks like and how this plan works. So at the very top, we have ACA, which is that federal agency I talked about. Then you have Sunshine Health. We have the contract directly with ACA, so we are the ones that are responsible to make sure that everything goes well as far as the plan and provide services to our children. So then we have, to the left, we have CBCIH, which is that plan I talked about. Now their role is basically a link between the health plan and the CBCs. Now, do you guys know what the CBCs are? Yes? Lake Devereaux, yes, exactly. So it's a community-based care. So there's 17 lead agencies throughout Florida. So it'll be very difficult for us to have that communication, that one-on-one with them. So CBCIH has that. They have a team around the state, and they're the ones that communicate on a daily basis with the CBCs and let us know what's going on with our children. If there's anything that's happening, if there's anything they need from the health plan, we have constant communication with them. Okay, so that's our link. And then Cenpatico, they're the ones that do all the behavioral health needs for our children. And we know that could be quite extensive with our children, right? So they're the ones that are entitled, or actually have the responsibility to take care of that for our children. And then down at the bottom, we have our CBCs. So at the CBCs, and we'll talk more about them, we have nurses and behavioral health coordinators that are actually stationed at each CBC to make it easier for the DCMs. We know what those are, right? The dependency case managers? Okay, cool. So the dependency case managers can actually talk to the nurse care coordinators and the behavioral health coordinators located at each one of the CBCs. Makes it easier for them to talk to them about, like, hey, what's going on with this child? What kind of resources are out there? What can we do to help? Okay? So more about our plan members. Again, Sunshine, told you guys that we hold the ACA contract. We have Cenpatico, they do the behavioral health portion. And we have CBCIH. And of course, all of you guys that advocate for our children. We're in a partnership with the whole system of care, because we know it takes a village, right, to take care of these children. We're definitely part of that village. And so we basically wanted to showcase that we have an extensive history with the child welfare system. So my VP actually came from the CBC side. She has 20 plus years in child welfare. She actually came from ChildNet. Many of you may know her, Nico Shea. And she does a lot of work in the child welfare system as well. I myself have been in child welfare, and I know a lot of Kim's team has also been in child welfare. So we have that knowledge. We understand our children. We know what they're going through. And we want to partner up with everybody to make sure that we do the very best for them. Okay? Now the CBCs. I talked a little bit about these. So at each CBC, 17 of them across the state, there is a nurse care coordinator, and basically her job is to monitor and oversee that the children are going to their dental appointments. Are they going to the doctor? If they have specific needs, what are they? How can they provide those or help coordinate those with the DCMs, right? A lot of these children come to us with a lot of medical needs. So what are they and how can we help? So we partner up with CPT, or the Child Protection Team. We know what they do, right? Okay. So we partner up with them. They make a lot of recommendations about our kids. So we partner up with them, and we try to figure out what's in the best interest. So by the time you guys take the case to court, the judge has a clear picture about what's going on with this child as far as medically. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Prior authorization necessary to see one of your practitioners?
I mean, if they're participating providers, it shouldn't be an issue. But if that becomes an issue, then we have a system in place for all of that.
So for specialty care, we would go through the CAM to the nurse to get the list of the available practitioners, because the families go in circles about going to different dental care, especially. Mm-hmm. They go in circles and nobody takes Medicaid. We're not in and out of network, that kind of thing.
Definitely, you can definitely go that route. Remember, the DCM is also someone that's really resourceful for you, and the DCMs have the ability to do the same thing. They're able to go to the nurse care coordinator, get the information to you, or even talk to us about it. If there is a runaround with the family, like, what is it that's happening? Is it an appointment? Is it a non-participating provider? Like, what's the issue? So we can help resolve it. So if you come across that, please direct your questions. You can do the CAM, or you can go to the DCM. They're very well aware of the process, okay? Also, at the CBC level, we have behavioral health coordinators, and that's exactly what they do. They help coordinate the behavioral health of that child. Again, same thing, like, what is going on? How can we help coordinate these services for the child? If there is an issue of communication, or if it's a health plan, non-participating or participating provider, we can help. And that's when Cenpatico comes in and says, hey, what's that communication? What's going on? What can we do to help? Okay? So they're all aware of their roles, and the DCMs know who they are. So it's really important for you guys to reach out to them. And we had talked about this. So we're the only ones in the state, so you know. This is the first time, actually, I want to point out that Florida has done this. So it's a really great experience. It's been a really great product I enjoy it. I come from the child welfare system, and I love that we have this for our children. We understand what they're going through, and this is the first time they've done it. So to have like the whole child welfare system in a plan that understands them is amazing. So if we can take advantage of that, it'd be great. And I'll tell you a little bit about our benefits in a little bit. So some of the stuff that we do, we talked a lot about our NCCs and BHCs, but we also have a lot of data sharing that happens with one of our partners, and I had mentioned them, that CBCIH, which is that link between us and the CBCs. That's how we communicate. So at the CBC level, a lot of times they're not able to know, or before the plan, they weren't unable to know, like, when did the child go to the doctor last? When was his last dental appointment? What is exactly his immunization records? Like, what are all these things that are necessary? And the judges ask, right? They ask these questions in court. So one of the things that we do is we have data sharing with CBCIH. We share with them our records about the child, and they share with us records about what's going on with the child so that we know, who's calling, where is this child located, and who is this new caregiver calling the health plan that we are not aware of, because we all know they move very quickly, right? Unfortunately. So we are able to have that communication through data sharing. So this is amazing for the CBCs to have, for them to go online and to look and say, hey, this is the last time the child went to the doctor. That's a problem. We need to get them to the doctor, okay? We also have a dedicated child member services team. So we have trainings regularly with our member services team because our population is very different, right? It's nothing like anything else before. So we need people that understand what our child welfare system is like and who's calling. Because sometimes maybe you guys could be on that phone calling the health plan for something. So we want to make sure that they understand what everybody's role is. So we have a dedicated member services team. We also have a dedicated case management team. So these are nurses. This is amazing for our CBCs. So we have nurses at the health plan that are able to help triage and able to help coordinate care for our members. So we have members that have specific needs, medical needs that are very, very delicate. We have nurses that are available and they're able to coordinate appointments, they're able to coordinate transportation, they're able to get these kids the help that they need. So this is a very valuable resource. And they help, call to the mom's house regularly, they make sure that they went to the doctor's appointment. If it's something that, is a prior authorization need, they're able to fulfill that request, things of that nature. So we have a dedicated team just for child welfare, okay? So these are some of our covered services. A lot of them are the standard services, the dental, we have ambulance and home health, hospice services, a lot of the stuff that you normally would see. And continuous, we have nursing care, we have respiratory, physician services, obviously. Now the good part. So our enhanced benefits, what makes us different? So all the other stuff that I told you guys about is great, because we have knowledge of the child welfare system, but what can we bring? These are our benefits. So we have $25 per member per month that they're able to receive for over-the-counter meds. So this is amazing for that foster care mom that has maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 kids in her home. They're able to get $25 worth of OTC stuff. And there's a list and there's places they can go to get them, okay? And that all comes part of the plan. We have, there's the list of approved items and locations. So they're able to use it every month. So this is great. And I'm gonna show you guys something that's gonna be staggering. It's underutilized. Our members are not taking advantage of this service. So we want you guys to be aware of it, to advocate for it as well, if you've been given the opportunity to do so. So just for this 4 months, you can see how this is definitely underutilized. For the month of September, there's only been a little bit over 1,000 members that have utilized this benefit. So definitely something that they're probably not aware of.
Are you saying this is 1,000 members who have utilized the benefit for the over-the-counter?
For September.
Okay. How do we make sure that these kids are enrolled in this plan? Are they enrolled in the plan once they're placed into care automatically?
Right, so it's a great question. So in order to be eligible, they have to choose our plan. Just because they come into care doesn't mean that they actually get onto our plan. So their DCMs or maybe a caregiver can still make that decision, maybe even the parents, because if they're in home, the parents still have rights. So the parents can choose for them to be on any plan, which could be regular Medicaid, or it can be the child welfare specialty plan, So they have to choose number one. And basically when it comes to you, you're not going to be making that decision, but I want you guys to be aware, so if you know that they are on Sunshine, you're able to understand the benefit structure, and you know what they can and cannot have, you know, the awareness.
So does the foster parent or the parent that's taking care of the child get an enrollment bulletin, an enrollment handbook, an enrollment anything?
Probably not, I'm going to say, so it falls back to the DCM. So that's something that we have to have the communication on, because by the time, remember, the children are placed in so many different households that a lot of this stuff doesn't go with them. So it's about, you know, that communication between the DCM to make sure that they're able to tell the new caregivers or foster care parents what's going on.
So they would get at least an enrollment card?
Right.
Okay, was Humana the prior specialty plan in Florida?
There's never been one. This is the first time ever. This is innovative and this is amazing.
So at this point in time, pretend you're not here yet.
Okay.
The child is brought into care, and then I know they get the green book that follows the child to the
The
foster
CRR,
to
Child Resource Book.
right, and it follows the child wherever that child goes, and in it is their Medicaid, right, Medicare card. So they automatically get that. So what you're saying is this is an option. So for instance, let's say a foster home and there's the card, and they're taking them to the doctors and the pediatrician and the blah, 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 and it's all going along fine. And then if they choose to switch and opt to do your plan and they sign up and they enroll, now do they have both going on? Do they have to change pediatricians? How does that work?
Well, if they're changing to our plan, that would be an option that they can have. We have an enrollment period, but I mean, once they come on, so when a child gets removed from the home, let's say, the DCMs usually make that option, or they put together, the CBC put together, where is this child going to go as far as insurance, if the parents don't make that decision for them. So remember, the parents still have rights unless they're TPR'd. So the parents can still make decisions for them. So if they choose to be on our plan, then we get all these benefits, but they have to choose it. If no plan is chosen, then we are the default plan for the state. Okay? But I don't want you guys to worry too much about that, because it's really not something that we can do at this level. I just wanted you to be aware of the plan.
So it's only you or Medicaid, correct?
Right.
Because there's either, okay.
Well, and just as a caveat, parents can have insurance too. I know it doesn't happen
Yeah,
too
yeah,
often,
right.
they can have their own insurance. Yes.
So this $25 a month that they're entitled to, how do they access that? Is that, do they have to submit bills every month? Or do they use the card when they go to the store? They just present the card? How does,
We give them the card as soon as they're enrolled.
okay.
That's part of the.
So if they're going and buying cough medicine, aspirin, whatever else, when they go up to pay, they just give them the card?
We have a card. We have a card, and then I know that Linda back there, hi Linda, she has all the information on the benefit as well. So there's select locations and items that you can purchase with the card. Yes.
But the $25 is not paid by an agency, that's paid by the family.
Right. It's part of the benefit structure, part of our plan.
So the parents will be paying the $25.
No, we pay for it. The plan pays for it. Yeah, it's a benefit. It's part of our benefit structure. They get $25 per member per month that they're able to utilize for over-the-counter items. Okay?
Per child?
Per child. So it's a great benefit.
There's only certain pharmacies and certain stores that take the card.
That's correct.
Right.
So you have to make sure which card and who takes it. And in Vero Beach area, there's very few that take it. Here's your card.
For the over-the-counter?
Yes.
Well, we'll definitely look at
I am a
that.
guardian for my grandson,
Okay,
and I have Sunshine Health.
okay.
I'm one of those that don't utilize the card.
No.
Only because there's very few people that take it.
Really?
And it's very difficult to find a place that actually accepts the
Well,
card.
actually, you know what? If you can, visit Linda. She has all the locations there, and I would definitely like to talk to you about that to make
Locations
sure.
are on your website
that-
too. but
oh, are they?
they're kind of like, few and far between in the Vero area and the St. Lucie County area.
So maybe that's something
Or
we
they
can work
used
on.
to be.
Maybe
Now,
it's
I
something we
haven't checked
can.
it in a
Oh,
while because I'm one of those that underutilize.
no. Please do not be part of this stack. So there we go. Please do not be part of the blue part.
I am
Not
part of the blue part.
We want you to be the other
I
side.
have used it one time.
No, but it's a great benefit.
is you can call and order it and we deliver it directly to your
That's
home.
what you were telling me about. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay? Thank you, Linda. That's true. You can have it and they can send it to your home.
I cannot be part of the food problem. Yes. Now you can all have it delivered straight to you.
Okay, so you can have it delivered to you as well. Great. So you will no longer be part of the blue, right?
No, I will.
Great.
Order some
I'm going to
stuff
give you a teddy bear just for that today. We cannot forget, the next time we do this presentation, you're going to be on the other side. Yes, I love it.
She'll be up here giving the presentation
Yes.
on the
On the OTC. Now, aside from the over-the-counter, we also have what's called a Sen account. And basically, the Sen account is another card that money gets put into anytime the child has or completes a healthy activity, like visiting the doctor, going to the dentist. So this is a separate benefit as well. And one of the things that we found with this card is the information or the addresses that it sometimes goes to could be wrong addresses that we have in our system. So that was something that we were trying to overcome, which is a reason why it's underutilized as well. So if you hear of parents or anybody that has Sunshine, this is another benefit they have. They can call and have this card requested and sent to them as well. So this is something else. It's totally different from the OTC. It does have a list of items that you can purchase with it, as well as locations like Walmart, Family Dollar, Dollar General, Rite Aid. So these are different locations where they can use the Sen account card to purchase different items. And I know Linda back there has the list as well, so that you can take a look at it, okay? And again, this is just looking at the spending rate, which is very, very low for child welfare. Something else that's underutilized that can help out our foster care kids so much. We also have NurseWise, which is basically a nurse that's available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and this is great for our child welfare children, as far as the caregivers, giving them that support if a child has, fever in the middle of the night, or something happens and they need that type of advice, that medical professional advice, like what should they do. This is available to them as well. They can just pick up the phone, make that call, speak to a nurse, and get that medical advice. Care grants. Another benefit that we have is care grants. So this is $150 per year per member. And basically what care grants are is a request to purchase things that are not covered by Medicaid. So they could be items like clothes for school. It could be SATs. I've seen some of those come through. It could be to their driver's license, the fee to pay driver's license. Different items that are not covered through Medicaid, okay? So this is what this is for. We have art therapy, we have medically related lodging and food. If the hospital stays 150 miles away from the home, we pay $100 per day for up to 21 days. So that's another benefit that we have. We also have post-discharge meals for up to 10 home-delivered meals for anyone that's discharged from the hospital. So just another. And we have vision. So for vision, we have an additional $150 a month. So the child can choose those really cool glasses that they probably don't want the other ones that are probably part of the plan. They want the cool ones to have, some kind of cool detailing on it. So they're able to get it for $150 more. We give that benefit to them. We have nutritional counseling and disease management programs. This is just a slide that details how many children we have throughout the state. And the regions that you have on there are actually ACA regions. So these are not your DCF regions, okay? So they differ slightly. So for this region that we're in here, it's ACA Region 9. So if you take a look, it's about 3,400 members that we have in this region. Now this isn't up to date. I'm not sure exactly when we created this slide, but overall we have served about 78,000 members, and we have between 35 to 36,000 members in total at this point. And one thing that one of the many things that we're proud of, we have made a huge difference when it comes to dental outcomes. So I don't know if you know, but dental is one of those things that is probably not as investigated as much as it should be. I've done a lot of talks for Nova Southeastern University for their dental students. So I remember removing a child once for family violence. Put the child in the car, strap him into the car seat, and he's crying, and I don't like to drive off when kids are in that state. So I try to soothe them, make sure that they know that they're okay. And as he's crying, I'm looking in his mouth, and I see the top of all his teeth are black. Probably bottle rot. Everything is black, and you sit there and you're like, wow, because you know that dental neglect happens over time. So this is like time over time of just straight neglect. Nothing's happening. So one of the things that we are so excited about is that we've actually outbid everybody else when it comes down to dental neglect for this state. We've actually even beat out our own regular Medicaid plan, and we were down with everybody else in the 40s. But this specialty plan, because we have the communication, the partnership, we understand how important it is for child welfare, we're at 77%. And this is for the years of August of 2014 to June 2015. So that first year, we were able to make that much of a difference. So that's extraordinary for this population, because we know how bad neglect can be in the teeth. I've seen it myself, and I know all of you have too. Many stories. So this is just another part of it we wanted to show. ACA has different measures that we have to meet, and these are some of those measures that we're really excited about. So we just wanted to show that we are making a difference. Even if it's slightly, we are getting there. Slowly but surely, we're making that difference for our population. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kim. I'm going to do Cenpatico for us. Oh, yes.
Before you go, you're talking about the children with their families, with their parents or with their foster parents. What about the children who are in places like Hibiscus?
Right.
Are they automatically enrolled in that plan?
If they're in child welfare, yes, they have the opportunity to do so.
Well, there's the opportunity, but it actually didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We have members that are in group homes and foster homes, in family settings, at home with their parents, with the safety plan that DCF was talking about earlier. So we have a combination. So we've been able to establish communication with all sorts of caregivers, right? Because we have to make sure that our group home kids are getting the same care as our kids that are in a family setting, as well as at home with their parents.
It's going to sound like a really dumb question, but it won't be my first. How do we get enrolled? Who's enrolling us?
So remember, when they come into care, it's usually that CBC, the community-based care. They're the ones that fill out the paperwork and all that stuff is done, because remember, they're the ultimate parent when the kid comes into care. It's that CBC level person. But remember, we are the default plan if no plan is chosen, or it could be the parent. Because remember, the parents have rights until they're TPR'd. So they're the ones that can make those decisions. Yes?
Why would they choose your plan over Medicare or Medicare over your plan?
That's a great question, and I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. I would choose this plan too. I love it. I love it.
Usually what happens is like when my grandson was on Medicare, Medicaid when I first got it. And when your plan came into effect, our Medicaid basically said you have a choice of either, at that time, of Sunshine Health and another provider. And you had to choose which provider, depending on what situation you were in, whether Medicaid was going to continue with standard Medicaid, or if you were going to go into the other type of services. So I had to actually weigh both plans to see which plan I thought was the best. And that's why I chose Sunshine.
Thank you.
You basically had more options and more opportunity for the child than the other plans did have. So that's what we had to do at that time when it was changing over.
Thank you very, very much. And I think our presentation will be done after.
One last question.
Yes.
We have a family caregiver, not a parent, a family caregiver who wants to join your plan and is not in it. Is there an open enrollment period, or how do they know when that option is available?
I know there's an open enrollment period. I don't know the exact time. Do you know, Linda?
Everyone's is different because whenever they come into dependency, of course, is going to determine that date. They can reach out to the choice counselors at a state level and determine when their open enrollment period is. They're gonna be given a 60-day window that they can choose a plan. They have to call during that window of time in order to make the change. Then they'll be given 30 days that they can try the plan and make sure it works
So
for them.
if you're now 6 months into this placement, they're beyond your open enrollment.
It is
period.
very possible that they're locked into the plan until a future date. Yes, ma'am.
Remember, for dependency, it takes a little bit. So until that case is closed completely with dependency, they can still be part
They
of
could
it.
still be part of it, so they should just call your,
They can simply just call and find out.
thank you.
Any others?
It's kind of a dumb question, but why do you have it set in like a lock? Is that just-
Oh, that's a.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Why is it set in like a certain enrollment?
It's just like Medicare or any other federally funded program. There are open enrollment periods, just like if you have insurance through your workplace, there's a certain time period you can enroll because there would be too much. What happens is there's too much change if you allow people to change on a monthly basis. So imagine they get an existing appointment with existing doctors and pending surgeries and such, and then the next month they're on a different plan. So it's imperative for continuity of plan that their care is given by one insurance company. If that gives you just some semblance of a reason as to why they chose to do it.
Thank you, Linda. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Cenpatico. Here's Kim.
Thank you.
Hi guys, this is the after lunch slump heading in a little bit. I know, like this is good. I'm sitting here. I'm Kim Purinton. I am the clinical training manager for the Child Welfare Specialty Program for Florida, and we have some of our beautiful trainers in the back. Hi, beautiful trainers that come out and do lots of fabulous things all over the state. Between us, and we have another trainer, her name's Andrea, she's up in Jacksonville. I think between, I was counting for almost like 20, 46, probably like 80 years of clinical experience with child welfare and residential treatment, CPI, all sorts of things. And so that's where I come from. But personally, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and been working in the field for almost 25 years now. So this is something very close to my heart. Came into the Sunshine Health program about a year or so ago. Prior to that, worked in crisis management with the school departments down in Broward and Miami, handling their crisis piece. And so, the reason that I came into this, and I think, whenever I go and speak with people about Sunshine Health or what we do, and our portion really is to, like as to Nabby's point, managing the behavioral health part of this plan. But the reason that I would, throw out to you all is, why does this matter to you, right? And we all know we all have our own experiences with insurance companies, right? It's not something we think about every day, our own personal insurance, but I'm sure we could raise a hand and say something, that impacted us with our own personal insurance, good, bad, or ugly. We all have those stories, right? And I think that kind of brings it home as to why this is important for y'all when it comes to working with the children that you do. It's something that you may not necessarily think first and foremost about, like, oh my goodness, I need to find out, what, health insurance is this child on. But it is something when you start, like Nabby was saying, the child's crying, you're like, my goodness, look at the teeth, we need to do something about this. Or if there's a behavioral health need or something along those lines, the first thing we want to find out is, okay, where do we go? Who pays for this? What's the process? So just to kind of even bring it back around, that's why Sunshine Health was awarded really the Child Welfare Specialty Plan, is because of the heart behind the insurance piece, really to look at these kids a little differently and the plight that they've found themselves in, right? Most of these kids, I'm going to say 100% of them have been through some type of trauma if they found themselves, in the child welfare system. And so we know that if it's not a medical or a physical need, we know that they're going to have, back to our portion here, a behavioral health component. I'm not going to say a need, but, a spectrum, they might be on the spectrum. So the slide up here, really just to go over a couple of things. What does the behavioral health piece encompass? What do we do? Nabby was talking about how we have dedicated teams that really understand the needs of our kids, and it's no different when it comes to the behavioral health side. Looking at our three major components: service management, coordination, and discharge planning. We have locally based case managers and UMs or utilization managers, how, making sure that our services are being used by the kids in an appropriate way. They're all master's level, many of them licensed, in the field of, a therapeutic modality. And they're locally based, which is great because they're gonna also know the community resources. So and we have 2 lead medical directors as well, just to kind of keep eyeballs on the situation, because we know with the kids, lots of different changes, lots of different things that they come into care with, and lots of ways that we can help them. Oh, I can clicker. Thank you. You did that technology. But anyway, so those are some of the things, and as you can see through management, coordination, and planning, some of these pieces may stick out to you, with Baker acting, even if it's just a outpatient therapy that a child may need. We really try to serve the kids in a way that we're a hub and to connect the need with the resource. So it was really important for Sunshine Health to make sure that we had people, when a call would come in from a DCM, from a CPC, from a guardian ad litem, from, you could maybe call and get some, if you were on a list, and actually I'm gonna back that up a second. It probably would not be you, but you would highlight a need to a DCM, to a CPC, to a foster family, and encourage them to call back. But when a call comes in, we're able to really have some knowledgeable people on the other end of the line to be helpful. Okay, and also part of that, our utilization management, I think we had a question back here about authorizations and things of that nature. There are certain things that are already pre-authorized, and I won't go into the weeds on that, but it would be on a case-by-case basis. There are other pieces that do need pre-authorization or prior authorization, and again, that's where our dedicated team that's very knowledgeable and really singular in focus on here. But there are some pieces like inpatient needs, and you can go through all the different programs that they may need a prior authorization on, that we make sure to review the criteria with our medical directors to make sure that as quickly as possible, the need is met with the correct and appropriate resource. One of the other pieces that we look over as far as utilization review is a big deal. PMUR, which is for Psychotropic Medication Utilization Review. A lot after lunch. But basically, to bring it around to the real of it is, you might go out one week and see a child happy, smiling, everything's good, and the next week you go out and the child's just despondent, just seems really kind of underneath the world, not really speaking a lot, just a real marked difference. One of the things that we know with our kids is sometimes they might go in, there might be a medication adjustment, there might be different pieces going on, and we recognize that with our population. This does happen, and sometimes kids going through a lot might experience anxiety, depression, different pieces. They may have other diagnosable conditions that require a medication intervention. Some criteria indicated, needing for further review. Whenever there's a child that has to have that, or it's appropriate for a psychotropic medication intervention, then we really make a good effort, a very marked effort to make sure we're monitoring those kids, because we know really quickly. And those of us that have been even on, statins or, anything else, everybody responds differently to meds. So, if there's some of these triggering events, 4 or more, and the last one here, a child under 4 receiving certain medications, we hate to see that happen, but that's something that we really want to make sure we keep an eyeball on, because this can really interfere with the child's functioning. But if we see, and this is where you come in, as well as other people that might be impacting the life of the child, if you see that, my goodness, Johnny is acting very differently, you might bring it back to the foster parent or wherever you interact with that individual or with the child, and say, you might want to call the DCM. I see something's a little off. Can we, look back through it and see if there was anything different? And then it can come back to our department. Medical directors look over the documentation. We look just to make sure that things are within the right parameters and that the child's on the right thing. You know, anybody heard about, you know, med shopping, and not the child's not doing that, but sometimes, you know, doctors don't talk to each other, and we want to make sure that we're managing that well. The good part about that is looking back, because we always want to audit internally to make sure we're getting it right, especially something like this. And the takeaway is that even with the children that we've found that might have a higher or some triggers that we wanted to make sure we could take a look at, of all of the children, and I think the numbers were like 3, 2, and 2, you know, across from last year, almost from the last, almost a year ago in January, 100%, if we found that there were some that were maybe a little questionable, some that had some issues going on with that medication piece, that none of them were outside the parameters that had a risk of significant side effects. So we're really happy about that. We really dedicate we have a dedicated team to making sure that the kids that have to be on those things are taken care of well. Any questions with some of this? I know it gets kind of into the weeds on it. Again, it's like the white noise in the background, that's health insurance, but it can be good definitely good when we need it. Yes?
I've unfortunately had quite a few experiences with children receiving or not receiving various levels of behavioral health care. But to my knowledge, they were just on Medicare. And it was a constant struggle to try to figure out who would Medicaid, who would take the Medicaid, how to get a psychiatrist. Are you saying that now the DCMs have more one-stop shopping? They say, okay, we've got a child who's been having severe behavioral problems. We don't know if they need medication or if they just need therapy or whatever, that they can go to you first. They don't have to be experts in saying, this is what I have, and you can start with referrals?
Sure. And I think if everybody was here, I think you're saying, you know, that, so the DCM, you know, I'm thinking of our audience here, you know, guardian items, right? And so if you see a need, you know, definitely, you know, we want to follow the line. Where can we go back to make sure the appropriate person can take a look at this? So if the DCM would be your first call to make to say, listen, I'm concerned about this child, they are not going to necessarily say, okay, I'm going to make sure we're going to change the, you know, instead of 2 times a day on the med, we're going to make it 1. They won't do that. They can call back to us if we are their health insurance for the child. They can call our team here, and then that starts the ball rolling. So that's why I'm saying that's that important part of this portion, that behavioral health portion for Sunshine, that if you see something, get it back to people that can get directly in, you know, if we are their health insurance provider, can get that back to the right entity so we can do a review. Does that make sense?
It does. It looks like a shortcut. It looks like a big shortcut if it works. If you say, about how many of the kids in dependency now are on this program versus Medicaid? And what percentage of them?
You know what?
Or
I'm not certain. I don't know if do we have any stats on and how many? Well, I guess how many children are currently enrolled in our program? About 36,000. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but it's a really high number, and you know, and it's really just because the heart is to target specifically a child welfare population because of the different needs, you know, the variety of needs inherent in the child in the system, as opposed to a child not going through those struggles and challenges. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
but
you.
also just point out, we've had to go to court to ask for a child to have a psychiatric evaluation to get a court order.
Right.
But it may be, if the child is really in need, there may be a shorter route through the managed care system.
It's always a good place to go back and start. It really is, and I think that's really the reason why we're coming around to you all and other, you know, agencies and people that touch the lives of these kids, is to grow awareness that here's another large tool in the toolbox to help get that child what they need. Okay, thank you. Yes, hi.
So as far as like care for children, I have a situation where we're having to wait till April for a child to get in to see a neurologist. What is the time frame? Is that better with your organization, with your company, compared to
the others?
I mean, Linda, I would think, I'm sorry, she was asking about the turnaround time for different providers to get in to see different providers, talk about neurologists, and I would say that's probably a case by case.
It definitely is, and what I can say is the specialists are very limited, so we go around and we try desperately, and if you have providers that you know would be interested in contracting with us, we have contracting teams across the state that will go visit with them and negotiate with them in order to get them on board. Certain areas of specialty are very limited. Even in commercial insurance, you're waiting several months now to get in to see.
I had to wait over a year, and we had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I worked at that hospital. It was very limited, there's not a lot of neurologists
I
in the
would
area.
hesitate to say to you that we're any better. What I can say to you is, we have nurse case management on board, and that the DCMs, as Kim has indicated, would be able to expedite cases for you, not for you specifically, but for the child, and work on the child's behalf. But the biggest problem is the limited amount of specialists that are out there, and then on top of that, you've experienced it with commercial and so have I, but then you take on top of that, the limited amount of specialists that are willing to take Medicaid. So, you have a mountain of problems to overcome, but we have arranged paths for you to hopefully be able to expedite those cases that are most severe and need immediate attention.
Exactly. Thank you. And that's really, again, the reason why we go out and talk about the specialty plan, because we know that we can't fix, all of these things, especially not overnight. But if we can help with some different tools in the toolbox to get you further along the path, and that's absolutely what we want to do. Okay. Thank you. Good question. Thank you. Moving a little bit more about another way that we support on behavioral health side is through training. One of the things that, you can read our goal up here, we support through training, myself, my fabulous team in Florida, that we go out to attempt to increase the skill set of all the providers and foster families, people that are really providing care to the child. We attempt to raise their skill set and their awareness of how really to work with the child in our estimation through the lens of trauma-informed care, because a child, they're acting in certain ways due to a lot of the trauma, correct, that they've been through, and sometimes the good old-fashioned, behavioral modification doesn't quite work. You might have well-intended, well-meaning therapists out there, but they might return the kid just like, it'll take me 2.5 seconds here to get this one off my case, and I'll go on to the next one, So it takes some really special people that can really attend to the needs of our kids. So as far as our training department, our mission really is to promote supportive training and education to all our stakeholders, including parents and providers. We do this free, so free is always bolded in red, but we make sure that if we're looking at licensed clinicians, whomever, even, primary care providers, whomever it would be that, again, that touches like you all. We come out and present to guardian ad litem about these cases, but they're free, evidence-based trainings. We do them web-based, we can be live, we go to conferences, whatever it is that we can do to increase knowledge and awareness of how we can treat our this vulnerable population. A lot of specialty work in the areas of human trafficking, trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which is TSCBT, and we have a big library of topics, ever growing, to really help people understand that this population really, these kids really need a special lens to look through when we provide care. Just a couple of pieces on here. This mimics the flyer we have in the back. If anyone, again, why is this important to you? You may have foster families. You may work at a group home. You may say, you know what? There's some really nice people here handling the care of this child. However, I wish they knew a little bit more about the plight of the child going through this trauma. So you know what you can say, hey, I'm going to email Paula if they happen to be, who's Paula? In Orlando. You can email Graham if they're in Sunrise. If they're right around here, I think we split the difference between y'all. If you're like, I really love this agency or I love this group home, but I think they need some help. Guess what? You can email us and say, I really would love for y'all to maybe make a phone call and see if you could come in and do some really practical training with a place. And then it should hopefully, number one, make the child's experience better, and number two, make your job a little easier if you're getting some support from people that have their skill set raised. So this is just a little bit to show how we cover Florida. Some of our training topics, again, you can look through. We've got this is not the exhaustive list by any basis, but different piece. You can look over the subjects that we have, but mainly all through the lens of how to help the child that's been through trauma. It's all our different things that we do, all through the lens of trauma-informed care. And again, we teach, we go and train to anybody, anywhere, anytime, it seems like. We do, but we love it. It's a passion for us. But it can be our CBCs that we've spoken about, DCF, judges, it's just, our mission is to create providers that have that lens and can meet the needs of our kids in a good way. And that's us, Cenpaticoview.com. If you have any questions or want to know who's the trainer in my area, and then you can also find me. There's the flyers are in the back there too if you want to know more about our scheduling. And I think for all of us from Sunshine, we want to say a big thank you very much and see if you have any other questions before we give you 5 extra minutes for your break. Yes.
Hey, you said Sunshine was awarded the contract by the state.
Yes.
How long does that contract go before it expires and has to be renegotiated?
Good question. Okay, so we're wondering, and I'm going to have my lifeline over to Linda. Hi, I know, sorry. And she's like, I'm not sorry. No, there's a question on the floor of when was the contract awarded and when is it up again for renewal?
It's open for bid in about a year and a half. We'll be bidding again. It's called the Invitation to Negotiate. And it's really turned out to be a good thing because what it does is it takes all the insurance companies to a state level, and we all had to step up and say, okay, if you're going to do this, well, we'll do this. Art therapy was never a part of Medicaid before, and now we offer art therapy. The additional $25 per member per month came as a result of the negotiation with the state. It was things that we wanted to put in place to negotiate a better stand and the option to win that bid. But again, to answer your question short, I'm sorry, about a year and a half we'll be bidding for it again. It's a 5-year contract, and I believe it was implemented in 2014, yes. So 2019 it will come up again, and it will hopefully be us, but if not, it could be another company at that time.
All right. Thank you. That's clear and good. Okay. Any other questions before we have a break? Okay. Oh, wait. One last one.
Are you aggressively going out to see the doctors to bring them into the department?
The primary care physicians?
Yeah, because I
yes.
do write contracts for Humana for
yes. That's
difficult for Medicaid. Terrible.
Well, that absolutely, we are always trying to grow our network, aren't we? Just to make sure that we can.
And there's actually a provider directory online at sunshinehealth.com. So you can go there and you can actually break it down by PCP or specialist and pull it that way.
Okay, but again, if you know of a wonderful, clinician, physician that you're like, they really need to be part of this network so our kids can see them, please, call us, let us know, because we would love to get some information to them. Okay, one more question.
I just wonder what happens at the end of the case. Do they just lose the insurance at that point? Or what happens?
So a couple things can happen. If they're reunified, that the case remains open for about 6 months. When they're reunified, the courts take a look at it. And then once it closes out at that period of time, it really depends. They're not part of the dependency system anymore, so they would drop off of our plan. They can go into our Medicaid, our regular Medicaid plan if they would like, that we offer, or through any other insurance. But they do have to have an open dependency case. Remember, if they're post-adoptive, it's as long as they receive that adoption subsidy. So yeah, that gets a little bit tricky. Any other questions? Well, thank you very, very much.